One final topic that comes up in the IUPAC naming system is that in addition to knowing the names of all the different classes of compounds, which I often refer to as families, like alcohols, esters, carboxylic acids, alkenes, and knowing how to name those molecules, so knowing what the ending will be, that's usually pretty straightforward, like knowing alcohols end in "-ol", knowing alkenes end in "-ene", and so on. In addition to that, you have to be able to look at a bigger molecule and correctly name and identify the functional group itself. So what do I mean by that? Like in this molecule of vitamin A, I can see there's an OH. Up until now, if something had an OH, we would say that molecule is an alcohol. The class of compounds it belongs to is an alcohol. But if you look at this molecule, there's also lots and lots of double bonds, carbon-carbon double bonds. So that would make you think that this class is an alkene. And so as molecules get bigger and they have lots of different types of functional groups, it gets trickier and trickier to just call them one thing or the other. So instead of doing that, we just say, here's a big organic molecule, and let's identify the different types of functional groups that it has. So instead of calling this an alcohol, I call OH by its name, which is hydroxyl. So a lot of these end in YL, just like a methyl group would, and hydroxyl is kind of like hydroxide. So when you see OH groups by themselves on molecules, the name of the functional group is just hydroxyl. These are all C to C double bonds, and so instead of being an alkene, these are alkenyl groups. So all of those are alkenyl groups. So there's two different kinds of functional groups in vitamin A. If we look down here at aspirin, I can recognize a carboxylic acid. That is called a carboxyl. I can recognize a benzene ring, which is not called benzene. When it's in a larger molecule, it's called a phenyl group. And I see this one, which is a little trickier, COO, and then where does that lead to? Well, if it's COOH, it's a carboxyl or carboxylic acid. If it's COO, and then really it's attached to another C here. This is a carbon, part of the benzene ring. So this is COOC, and COOC is an ester. So this is the ester group, the COOC, crazy-on ester, and so on. There's lots of different functional groups. You have to recognize them and be able to name them individually in addition to identifying or naming the molecules, smaller molecules that contain them. So you have to be able to name alcohols and recognize when a molecule is an alcohol, but you also need to be able to identify within a larger molecule and just call it a hydroxyl group or a phenyl group, or in this case, an amido group. So lots of different functional groups. They are listed in a table, if we go way, way back, that summarizes all the naming, yada, yada, yada. So in this table here, we've got the summary. These are the class names that we had already learned. These are the ways that we name them, the ending or the prefix that we use in a molecule. And now the final piece is, what do you call them when they're on their own in a larger molecule? What is the name of just the functional group? If you call an OH group an alcohol, you won't get the mark. So knowing when to use each of these names is very important. And again, flashcards and practicing is the best way to keep them all straight.